Welcome to the Chain Out Podcast with your hosts, Jeremy and Daryl.
Hey everyone, welcome to Chain Out Podcast, episode 42. I'm Jeremy, and with me, as always, forever and ever, your favorite co-host, Daryl. How you doing,
Until
pal?
I can't handle you anymore, Jeremy.
And I think I might have almost done that to you on the weekend, as I always do at every tournament we go to. But hey, we made it through.
I'm doing fabulous, Jeremy. How are you doing?
Doing good, buddy. Doing
Good.
Did you, were you all disc golfed out since the weekend, or have you gotten a chance to get out at all?
Pretty much, but that's a couple days ago, so I did actually get out today. I had to do my Hills League, and then a friend of the show, Mark, asked if I wanted to go out, and we were going to go out on a disc golf trip. We didn't know where we were going to go when we were thinking Batasquin. And we thought maybe, what's coming up this week at Rundle League, the one disc challenge. Or the optional one disc challenge, I should say. So we decided to go out there. We took out a couple discs, see which one we like. It's not a Berg, let me tell you that.
That's not your one disc option.
No,
hey?
When everybody's throwing a Berg, it's a bit more of an even playing field. But when you're throwing a Berg against, various mid-ranges, then, yeah, it's not a Berg.
So did you just pick one disc and play your whole round today with it, or did you try a couple different ones on, say 3 holes with this one disc?
Well, I started out with my T-Bird and a Nate Sexton Firebird because I may be trying to suck up to somebody. No, just kidding. Just because I actually throw that on quite a few holes.
Right.
But turns out that it's not very good for me on other holes as well. So we played 1, 2, 3, decided that the discs that we had were not the greatest discs, went back, put those away. I took out a Berg because I figured, hey, I played Alberga with one Berg.
Right.
Niska Pasquak course.
Yes.
But like I say, when everybody's throwing that disc, it's a little bit more of an even playing field. But I also took out my IT.
Really?
Chat, if anybody knows Innova discs, the IT disc, the Innova IT, is it IT or is it?
Well, I just heard Miles Ladder call that disc an it this morning.
Okay, well, I used to call it an it, and then you said that it would maybe called an IT.
That's right.
So we're going back to calling it an it.
I think it's probably up to the thrower.
Is it a bit like Reco Rico?
Yeah, it could be.
Okay.
Well, I should throw it out there to the chat, which we've got a few people in the chat.
We do.
Is a number of them also play in the Rundle League. Does anybody know what they're going to throw tomorrow at the one disc round?
I settled on the it, and it makes me question everything I know about disc golf because I go through phases of, okay, I'm getting better with discs and I can disc up. I can actually get these drivers farther than my other disc, and I can shot shape them, and I get a couple of destroyers because I think that's the disc for me, right? I need to power up a destroyer or go these bigger drivers. We go out there today and we say this sometimes that, maybe we need to slim down our bags a bit. I go out there with the it and I'm driving just as far or if not farther with my it.
Oh, well, that's pretty amazing.
So it means that I have to empty my bag of all my destroyers, all my, they turn. I don't need that anymore. No, it's,
that's what it's going to be.
It was interesting. Hey? Yeah. I'm just reading the chat. I think everyone thinks that it's an it.
Yes, that's what I'm seeing too.
Yeah.
Well, we're also seeing that Dylan's planning on throwing his Sexton Firebird, so that should be 2 Sexton Firebirds out there tomorrow.
Sam's throwing a Compass or his Trust,
but he's not sure quite yet.
Yeah.
And Dylan, as he's listening, he had a chance to play with us in the last time we played around at Rundle
2 weeks ago.
If he can remember my beauty shot on hole 6,
that's
the disc I'm using. I'm going to pull out that sweet yellow Niska Pasquak Wombat, and that's what I'm going to throw my one disc round with. So we'll see how that goes.
That's the thing. You have to weigh up. There's some holes that are good for that disc. And you're like, I always throw the Wombat on this hole, or I always throw the it on this hole. I always throw a Firebird on this hole. But it's when you get to other holes, like I'm thinking like 14, other holes that disc doesn't fit. Can you flip it? Can you turn it over? Can you forehand it? That's the thing. Is it what do you call like a multi-use disc?
Yeah, that's right. If I can do that, then I think I can. I think I can hyzer flip it. I can
Yeah.
think I can send it on an Annie. I just don't think I can forehand it. That's the one thing that it won't be doing.
Yeah. Good luck on hole 16, because let me just tell you that there was 2 discs that ended up in the water today.
Ooh, well, there you go. I'll keep that part in mind. I'm going to be going far right on that hole, I guess.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, let's tell our listeners what we've got going on today in this show. Let's give them a quick idea of what they can expect ahead of time here.
Let's go for it.
Okay, so tonight we are talking about the 6th Canadian A tier of 2024, Falcons Flight 15. We'll share a little bit about our experience at the event.
Yeah. And of course, because it was an A tier, we did a fantasy disc golf league pick on it as well. So we'll let you know how our fantasy disc golf picks did with our special guest, Alex Penny.
Yeah, he was awesome to have on the show.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy.
Yeah. We'll squeeze in a quick summary of what the pros are doing on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, the Canadian pros, that is.
Yeah. To kick off all of our interviews, we're going to be sitting down with tournament coordinator Jordan Alway, and tournament director Don Annett is going to be joining us as well.
Yeah. After that, for the first time ever on our show, we're going to have Bailey Inglis, your Falcons Flight FPO winner.
Yeah. And we're also going to be welcoming back a previous guest of the show. Your MPO winner, Casey Hanemayer, will be joining us.
Yeah. And then we're going to wrap up the episode with a secret word, and then we're going to chain out of here.
Yeah. Speaking of chaining out of here, Jeremy, I'm going to ask him later on, but did you happen to catch Casey Hanemeyer's post of when he was warming up? I think he was probably at Wycliffe, where he had probably a 50-foot putt downhill. And it chained out.
Yeah, it was an amazing putt. It looked like it was going right in there.
But it didn't. And then the camera went back to him. Did you see what he did?
I think he did a Daryl and a Jeremy.
I think he did a double chain out. I'm going to ask him if that's what he was actually doing. I'm sure it was. I had to turn up the volume just to hear if he said it.
That's right. I don't think he said it, but I'm going to tell you, I could read it. I could read his mind.
It was there. Yeah.
Well, speaking of chain outs, I had a couple of those over the weekend. I don't know about you. Did you have a few?
Oh, I have my fair few of chain outs. Yeah.
And other things beyond that as well.
Yeah, we'll touch on that later.
Yeah. So we, the two of us, we got to go out. We'd heard so much about it. We've been talking about it on the show. People might even get sick of hearing us talk about how excited we were to go to Falcons Flight.
Mm-hmm.
But the weekend finally showed up. We got out there, and what a weekend it was in my mind. We had the best weather, and I think it lived up to most of the things I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, and it was a good event because, like you said, it was a whole weekend, and it was a one round a day. So you had the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we got out there on the Thursday. So it extended it by another day, right? So it was a full 4-day weekend for me. I got down there a little bit earlier than you. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised, I guess. I mean, you don't always want to build up the expectations of these things that everybody else is excited about. You're thinking, oh, it's going to be great. And then when you get there or do it, it's like, oh, I was expecting it to be way more than that. But yeah, no, it was a good, fun event. Good 3 rounds of golf over 3 days.
Yeah, and we got to camp right on site, which was a cool thing. And we were wedged right between, on the west course, between hole 10 and hole 18. So it was really easy for us to watch the action happen. Just take our chairs, set them over in the shade at a camper, and cheer on some players as they go by.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
What did you which course did you like the best? How did your rounds go?
Well, I would say my tournament was almost 50-50, Daryl, is what I think it was. I think if you considered there was 6 different 9-hole rounds, I guess you could call it, or 9 holes that I played, right? Because 3 rounds, 18 holes. So 6 9 holes. 3 of them were good, and 3 of them I'd like to do a lot of things differently than I did.
Yeah, I mean, it was unlucky for you because you got down there late on the Thursday. You didn't get a chance to even practice the course. So you started out on the west course blind.
Yes.
And then in the evening, we actually got to go and you took 1 disc, and we actually went to at least walk around the east course for you, which is arguably the harder of the 2 courses. So I got down there on the Thursday. So I'd like to give a shout out to Rob and Gatsky for walking me around the course. like I said, I was undecided. I wanted to play 118. I didn't know which 18 I was going to play. They said if you're going to play the West course twice, go and play that one. So I got up to hole 10, which is, like you said, right where we were parked. Had a shout out from Rob and Greg saying, hey, you still want to go play the East course? Because we're heading out right now. Don't bother play the back 9 of the West course because it's pretty open. It's pretty, it's the easier section of that course. So then I joined Rob and Greg for the hole 18 of the East course. Man, that's a tough course.
It is a tough course. I agree.
But shout out to them for showing me, a lot of what they said I didn't do in the tournament. I did it in practice when I was with them, and I thought I shot pretty good. Lay up here, just a putter. You don't need to go far. Break it down. Show me the safe landing areas.
Yeah, and it was really good because then what you and I did was, although I didn't get a chance to play either course, not the full round type thing with all my discs, what we were able to do was we went out 8:30 in the morning the day of our first round and went to the West course, and we were able to follow, I think they were probably FA1 players. Is that who it was? Daisy and Brittany, I think it
FA1 or FA2?
FA1 or FA2, yeah. But we got a chance to follow them around the course, and then you kind of told me some spots that maybe I might want to put my discs. So that was good. I think the only thing that really surprised me when I got on the course was those first couple holes. I was expecting them to be a lot longer than they were, and found myself going out of bounds pretty quickly by not disking down properly, which I didn't think was going to be a problem.
Yeah, I know you'd mentioned that. You said that it's great that Park Pro put the coverage out there. We got the chance to see, you could almost visualize the course. When you see a hole, you're like, oh, okay, this is the one where Casey threw it here or Noah putted from here, sort of thing. But actually being on the course, not only did it not really translate the distance, because I was the same as you. I thought a lot of the holes were longer than what they were just by looking at the coverage. But like you said, it didn't show the elevation either.
No, it didn't show the elevation. And the other thing is the depth perception. It just doesn't do either of them justice until you get out there. Holes look a lot longer on video sometimes, or shorter, and they definitely don't look as steep as they really are sometimes. So
yeah.
No,
I enjoyed the West course.
Right.
Maybe because it was easier, but I say easier as in, do you want to get slapped on the hand or slapped in the face? Like they're both going to punish you. It's just one a bit more than the other.
Yeah. And do you think too, though, because West, what it had was it had a good split where the front 9 is in the woods. You have to really have some nice straight throws, make sure to hit your lines. But then after that, you get a chance to go out into the open, into the field. There's still trees. There's still a lot of trouble, but it just feels that now you can actually let loose with a few discs. I don't think I threw anything above maybe a one fairway driver on the front 9, and then it was all fairway driver on the back 9. It felt like.
And I think, like you said, because it was a bit more wide open, I don't think there was as much OB. I found in the woods, and especially on the East course, there was a lot of OB painted, especially around the greens.
Just leave that out there.
Let's just get to it, Jeremy. I took a 17 on a hole, and I'm not proud of it.
I didn't know if you were going to say it.
It wasn't a typo if anybody was following. Yeah. And the only reason I took a 17, it was just pure stubbornness. It was not that I played. Well, I did play it badly, but I got in a position, thought I could make a tunnel gap, throw in over OB down a tunnel gap. 6 shots it took me to get before I realized pick a different disc. Then I finally made the gap, went OB long, but at least I was on the other side. So 6 penalty shots plus, or 6 strokes plus 6 penalty shots, then plus 1 shot and an OB shot from the other side. Oh, and then I putted in, and it was a par 5.
It was.
It doesn't make it any better.
It was a difficult one.
Still 12 over.
I'm so glad that you've actually lightened up a bit and you're able to share the story with the listeners, because I'll tell you guys, Daryl and I like to say we're an Ernie and Bert relationship sometimes, and he was really channeling his Bert, or maybe his Oscar.
Yeah. I definitely didn't want to hang around people, or I just wanted to consume some beverages that night. But the next morning, another day, new day, had a different course to think about. It's one of those things, and that just sets us apart from the amateurs to the pros, right?
Yeah.
The way that I dealt with it, I wasn't resetting. I wasn't taking time. It was almost reminiscent of your hole 11 at Bailey's. You didn't take the time to set yourself up for the next shot. I was just grabbing a disc out of my bag, throwing it. It hit a tree. I'd grab another disc, throw a disc, and it would hit a tree. Walk down, pick up my disc, come back again, make a pile, throw them down. At one point, I picked up the destroyer that I threw to get to that point, which was an OB. I ripped that down there, hit a tree. I just wasn't. That was where I kind of had a bit of a breakdown on. Not breakdown. Like I never at any point thought like crying or screaming or like getting angry. It was almost laughable to the point where I'm like, man, I cannot make this gap.
Well, and then you I guess at one point you probably got so committed that you're like,
at
this point the score doesn't matter. We're just going to see how many discs it takes to get down there.
Exactly. I think at one point I shouted out to the card. I'm like, I hope someone's keeping count because I'm not. Luckily, Wally, who was spotting when I finally did get out, he was like, okay, so that was 6 shots and 6 OB strokes. So that's your 12.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well,
so it added up to a 17.
Yeah. But you have a great attitude. I almost wish I was on the card with you because I would like to have maybe tried to talk you out of it at some point. Stop, Daryl!
I don't think it would have worked because when you joined me on hole 18, I think I gave you the big, stay there, Jeremy. I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, that was it. I thought maybe I was making too much noise. I was crunching rocks, but then it all came together there afterwards. But
yeah. Well, at least I did talk to you about your round and debriefed with your round. I kind of sat there with you for a little bit. It's not like I completely shut down. I just didn't want to talk about my round.
Well, I had no idea what you had done yet, and it took the air out of my sails a little bit after I went and told you, yeah, you know that par 5? I parred. I did the whole putter thing. And then you're like...
And that was the thing. Rob had told me, and Greg had said, you know what? Just play it. Putter, 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 putter. Take the par and be happy and move on to the next hole.
Yeah.
And I went fairway driver, destroyer. Yeah, that didn't work out good.
Well, I'll tell everybody if they want to hear these stories and more, because we could go all night.
Yeah.
Catch up with us at Rundle. Catch up with us. Catch up with you at Big Bird over the weekend, and I'm sure they can hear more stories if they want. But let's get into the fantasy picks.
Yeah. Okay, we should bring that up quickly, shouldn't we?
Mm-hmm.
So, fantasy picks, as everybody knows, if you don't know, go and check out our YouTube channel. We don't do it live. We do it recorded. We have a special guest on each week. We're doing the 11 A tiers. We all picked our picks. This week we had the lovely, nicest man in disc golf, as Jeremy likes to say, Alex Penny, and he really is a nice guy. I'll bring up our picks that we picked this week. There's all the teams. We put it on our Instagram. We have all the points beside it. But as I like to say, the numbers down the bottom are the ones you need to know. Maximum points was 19 points this week because we had a bit of a reduced field. Three MPOs each, and we only picked 2 FPOs. So that gave us a possible maximum of 19 points. But Alex Penny tied me with 9 points, and he had 2 people that didn't score him any points.
Yeah, he actually, unfortunately, Joe Henderson in the first round, I believe it was hole 6, she had done a jump putt and came down on her ankle and just rolled it right over, tore ligaments, like a 3rd-degree sprain. They had to check an x-ray to make sure it wasn't broken.
She had 2 things. I think she had like a sprain and a tear, and I said to her, okay, well, at least you didn't break it. And she said, I mentioned that to the doctor, and they said, yeah, no, a break would have been better than what you have.
Yes, yeah.
So we're talking about Joe Henderson.
Yeah.
To support Joe Henderson, go visit her. Go check out her Instagram. Or if you are in the local area, go visit her. She has discs for sale.
Yes,
she has her own custom stamped discs. She has an Undertaker.
And she has a passion.
Yeah. Go see her. And maybe I'll have to bring this in a little bit closer to the camera. If you can see it, there is a signature.
Little teeny set of initials.
There is a little signature right there. So thanks, Joe.
Yeah, Joe said she's going to work on her signature, Daryl, and maybe get it a little bigger.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the points. If we add those points to the previous points, you'll see the standings are now Team J-Pow with 47 points, Team Guest Invite with 53, and looky, Team Shambles out in front with 65. So taking down the wins overall, because me and Alex Penny tied, we're given 1 win each. So that puts me up to 5 wins, and Team Guest Invite with 2 wins.
And Team JPOW still looking for that elusive first win. Don't let that scare you, though. Team JPOW's got a whole new strategy for this evening. It's I've got a dartboard here. I've got all the names on it.
I was going to say, did you write them all the names down on a piece of paper and just going to put your hand in the pot?
Yeah, it's going to be just as much a surprise for me as it is for everyone when I make my picks tonight.
Yeah. And then, of course, we have the fan vote. We can't forget the fans that voted on the teams on Instagram.
And
Team Shambles took down another win.
You did it. You did it again. You are rocking this. I'm starting to understand why this was your idea to add this to the Chain Out collection of videos and podcasts.
Yeah.
No, it's awesome. And you've been playing well. And you know what it was is I felt really good. I had Jay Sparrows. I had Miguel Alvarado, had Noah Higgins. Noah was in first place after the first day. But you know what? That was the thing to say about this tournament. With a field as big as it was, it really was anybody's tournament to win.
Yeah.
It felt like. And
out of our picks, obviously we picked 3 MPOs each. So that was 9. We're trying to get the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was probably 5 or 6 people in the top 10 that none of us even had on our radars. Like we said, anyone can win it at any given day, right? It's not like we're trying to pick the best team. It's any one player from any one of our teams can win, and then even outside of our picks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's for sure. Definitely. And the thing is this tournament, like you said, so deep, so many players. And even on the other side too, Bailey was one of my picks, but she wasn't the first pick of the pool. So it was even that type of thing where there was surprises at every corner, I think, is what we had. Except for maybe Casey wasn't quite the biggest surprise because
no, exactly. Alex did good taking him as his number 1 MPO pick, I guess. But and it's doing, everybody knows Casey. We've had him on the show before. If you watch Disc Golf in Canada, you know Casey. Maybe you don't know Bailey, but she's been around. She's played. Yeah, you're gonna. That's the whole point I was going to say, is that if you followed us, you followed the tournament, you would see names in there that you haven't heard of before. And that's the whole point of doing the fantasy league, right? Is to get names out there that people aren't very familiar with. Get them checking the scores every time there is an A tier. Maybe they'll find a new favorite player in Canada, support them, buy their discs if they have them, support them in any way they can.
Yeah. Show them that we are paying attention to what they're doing as well, not just what's going on down south.
And the more we follow Canadian disc golf, more we pump everybody up, maybe the PDGA will actually get a tour stop up in Canada.
Or tour stops is what would be even better.
Even better.
So the next fantasy pick will be coming out right away because the A tiers are coming fast and furious right now.
They are.
So we had Falcon.
We'll be doing it tonight, Jeremy. Right after this episode, we just done Falcons Flight. The next one is going to be Gold Eagle in Saskatchewan.
Yeah,
and we have another special guest.
Yeah, they say that one's in Cochin, but for anybody who knows Saskatchewan, it's kind of near Battleford. And one of the cool things we'll get into about that is they've got a pop-up beach course that everybody loves there.
Yeah.
But as you're saying, we have a guest, of course.
Yeah, we have a very special guest joining us tonight for the Gold Eagle Fantasy Picks. Friend of the show, Kristen Swirls. Yeah, we're excited to have Kristen back on. We'll see if she can... I was going to say, because actually Tim didn't win his episode either.
No.
I remembered it was Mark Thompson that actually won the one episode for the guest. So, Kristen, you got... it's wide open for you to come in and take down the win.
That's true. And I think what's going to be really cool about this one... Always got to put that in there, Shambles. Always got to put that in there.
I'm in fantasy mode right now. That's where we have our little bit of banter back and forth. But
yes. So make sure to watch those episodes too. Vote for your favorite team. Put in your own team. Nobody did last round, but that's fine. But if you do, pick your players and tell us who you would pick, and let's see how they do. Yeah. And we're going to get a chance, Daryl, to learn about a lot of Saskatchewan players because we haven't talked about them much. They don't always come out to Alberta or to some of the other events, but they will be playing there.
Yeah. We have a few people in the chat that was following along with us this weekend playing the tournament. So They're looking at the players. They're looking at the scoreboards.
Yeah, they are. They're
What you
watching
gotta
that,
do is
and
pick
as Sam
your
mentioned, they're watching us too. So I think
Yeah.
that if we had any pressure, it's
Exactly.
there.
If you're watching the leaderboards, you see in the players' names, pick your top 3 MPO. In that case, it was the 2 FPO.
This week it'll be 1 FPO.
1 FPO for this event. Leave it in the pin post. Maybe you'll get a bonus entry if you leave your team name.
Yeah, could be.
And as always, in the Fantasy League, we want to shout out Brendan at BR Disc Golf for giving away a gift card. We are one behind. I have it, but I just haven't uploaded it yet. So we'll do that one. And then if you vote on the team, if you leave a comment on the YouTube video, you're entered in to win a gift card from Brendan. And we appreciate it.
So that'll wrap that up. Let's quickly hit the Disc Golf Pro Tour Pro update.
Let's
and
go
then
for
we
it,
can
Jeremy.
get to those awesome, sweet interviews. So we'll start out with Sophia Donica. We've told you week after week here that she's taking a break, and she really is until Nationals comes up, which is in 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
But one of the things I did notice, she posted that she still has some of her Canadian fundraiser discs available for purchase to support her for the trip to Perth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's with her. She's got her arms there crossed on the cover with her best I'm a pro look, I think, on there. And then Stuart McKissick is in the background because it was a joint effort.
Yeah.
And then, of course, she's still got her tour Series J's available, just like the one Daryl's got right there.
Sweet. Upside down. Sweet J's. Max Rajicnik. Sorry, my mistake. Thomas Gilbert. He's heading. He's down. He's going to be in the Great Lakes Open this weekend.
Yeah,
a
good old
DGPT
D-Glow
Plus event, also known as D-Glow. Yeah.
And then Chantel Badinsky, she was 4th at the CCR Open recently. She shot her 3rd 1,000 rated round. And Owen Scoggins ended up taking that one down for the win, but Chantel's going to be playing D-Glow this weekend as well.
Yeah. Max Rogitnik. Sorry, Max, I don't have one of your discs. He's just up in Canada getting ready for Nationals. So, Jeremy, we'll see you there.
But wait, Daryl.
That's it.
That's not all.
That's not all this week.
No, normally we were talking about 4 people on the Pro Tour.
Yeah.
But we've added a 5th person this week.
We didn't add them, but they added themselves. But we're going to be talking about them.
Yeah, go ahead. Fire away.
Yeah. A new addition to the FPO Pro Tour. Rebecca Dawn.
Yes.
She played in her first FPO tournament, CCR, against a stacked field of pros.
Yeah.
She came 13th, Jeremy.
13th in her first
13th
DGPT Pro event.
Exactly. And you know what 13th was good enough for?
What was it good enough for?
She made cash.
Oh, baby.
She cashed at her first pro event.
That's awesome. And
Rebecca Dawn.
There she is.
Next up for Rebecca Dawn, she'll be heading back up to Canada. She's going to the Innova Rip. So we look forward to getting an update on her there.
Yeah. And you know what? We're going to add a 6th one on the fly because I just saw a comment in our comments there from Kristen.
Yeah.
And it turns out that Colleen McInnes, former guest on the show and friend of the show, is heading down to D-Glow as well.
Yeah.
So that's another one of our Canadian pros heading down. And I know I looked, Daryl, and guess who's coming to Nationals? Colleen McInnes is as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I just remembered, and I've seen it, and we never brought it up, but there are other Canadians that went down to CCR. I think Karen Martel was down there. I think somebody else went down there as well. Her name eludes me. But
okay.
We do have other people. We kind of focused on the regulars, so sorry we didn't mention the other ones that kind of just went down for those events. So
yeah, maybe what we'll do is I'll do a little bit more digging on my next research there and get beyond the top 5 that we've got here now. So
exactly.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremy.
Well,
we've talked enough.
It's time to hear all about Falcons Flight, and let's start with a couple guests.
Okay, let's go for it.
We got 2 guests joining us right away. One of them is the tournament coordinator for Falcons Flight 15. He's been a PDGA member.
Can I just mention?
Sure.
These
you
two
always
guests,
do that when I get started.
I know, because I always forget. Jordan or Dawn, if you're listening on YouTube, you're coming in right now.
Yes. So he's been a PDGA member since 2021. He's also the TD of the Lost Egg Tournament and founder of the Cold Garden Cup. And we're going to have the tournament director on with us as well, a PDGA member since 2003. His first PDGA tournament, Daryl, was in 2001, and it was in Edmonton at the River City Cup.
Yeah.
Hailing from Calgary, he is a staple in the disc golf scene, playing and organizing events. Let's welcome Jordan Alway and Don Annett to the show.
Hello, guys. How are you doing?
Hey guys. Not too bad.
Awesome. Good to have you both on the show. We've been talking everything Falcons flight, and it's so excited to have you here. We'll just check and make sure we can hear you both. Do you want to say hi for a sec there, Don?
Yeah, sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
You're a little echoey.
Yeah, got a little bit of a robot echo there to you.
Let me just see if I can do something to fix that for you.
Yeah. I'll just do a little talking as Daryl's working on that. So, yeah, Jordan was a tournament coordinator, and we've had him on the show before, especially about Cold Garden Cup, talking about Lost Egg, that type of thing. And while we were out at Falcons Flight, Jordan seemed to be here, there, and everywhere all weekend. You'd see him on a quad, you'd see him on a bike, you'd see him at the starting hole 1 on the east side, then you'd see him on the west side. He was selling raffle tickets in the middle of the night. You name it, he was out there doing it all. And then anything that Jordan wasn't doing, I'm sure Don was the one picking it up and doing that on the other side too. So if you want to say hi for a sec there too, Jordan, see if we got you. Hey, how are we doing there, Daryl?
Can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah, we got Jordan.
Okay.
So speaking of that, why don't we start with that with you, Jordan, while Daryl works on Don's audio there. How are you feeling after the tournament? How you kind of recovered there? Did you get some sleep after what was, I'm sure, a few sleepless nights?
Yeah, it was. I had a few sleepless nights. Probably almost every night. I didn't sleep too much, but yeah, I've caught up a lot of sleep. I got home on Monday night very late and basically passed out for 12 hours.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
How did it take a while to kind of clean up after the event, or was it pretty good? Did everybody do their part and get their recyclables and garbage out of the way? Or
it was pretty awesome, actually. I woke up in the morning on Monday there, and it seemed like most of the stuff was actually cleaned up by the time I was up, and I didn't get up too late either. I think I was up at like 9.
Okay.
Awesome.
But yeah, it was great to see that a lot of people had stepped up and went and cleaned the courses up. And
yeah, good. Yeah, are we good with Don there, Daryl?
We can try it. Hey, Don, do you just want to say hi just one more time?
Sure. How do I sound that any better?
You're still a little bit delayed and you're still a little bit echoey. Can I get you to leave the chat and come back in again? We'll try that. That normally
just
works.
Use that same link that we gave you there.
So on your screen, you should see a little red hang up button.
Got it.
All right. Well, and also too, Jordan, while we're talking about it, we had like an amazing turnout. Daryl and I, this was our first time coming to the event. We couldn't believe how many people were out there and how many people were camped, and just what a vibe this whole tournament was. And it just lived up to everything we wanted it to be.
that's the one thing about Falcons is it's like it's a whole different experience to any other tournament, really, because I'd have to say about 3/4 of the people stay on site, or if not there for most of the night, and then take off to their campsites that are not too far from Aspen, right?
Yeah.
Would you? And we've heard it described before about like kind of like a disc golf mecca. You know, it's one of those events. If you're going to attend one event, like it's got such a heritage, a history behind it. You know, where else are you going to play 2 good courses like that in close proximity to everybody, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, let's try Don again.
How do I sound now?
Oh, you're perfect.
Oh, baby.
You're
You
awesome.
sound great, Don.
Yeah.
Yes, excellent. Good.
Yeah, thanks for joining us and being patient with us there. Hey, as we get into Falcons Flight, this was Falcons Flight 15, and I know you've been around for a number of them. Can you give us a little bit of history on it and the origin? I know many people do know about Rudy and such, but just kind of let our listeners who don't know how Falcons really started.
Yeah, so Rudy bought that property in 2008. Set up what kind of looked like the East Course at the time, so it was only the one course. still very rough out there. The grass when it was cut was about this long, and there's still stumps all through the fairways and everything like that. And back then, 15 years ago, tournaments, there was no disc golf scene. People just showed up for the weekend, with $40 or $50, whatever the tournament entry fee was, and registered on the day of the event and played, right? And in the early days, none of those tournaments were sanctioned, so people drinking beer while they're playing. It was sort of a celebration of community, right? And then over the years, as it built up, getting into Falcons Flight 8, 9, 10, started to get more serious. It was a sanctioned event. And then in 2000, for Falcons Flight 12, this team that's currently running the tournaments, we've been at it 4 years now, we decided to elevate it to an A tier, and it was it was kind of a funny story. It was about 6 weeks before the tournament, and nothing was really being organized or anything like that. And then so I asked Rudy, I said, well, do you need help with this thing? And he's like, yeah, I just need some help with the computer stuff, he said. And I'm like, yeah, right, okay. So he needed a lot of help, and so I reached out to a bunch of people in the community to see if we could kind of form a committee and pull this thing off. And it was during those first couple of meetings when I think it was Elijah said, why don't we do an A tier? And so within about 6 weeks, we pulled off Falcons Flight 12, and that was our first A tier. And there was a ton of people on the committee, guys like Eric Vachon out of Vancouver, who just recently moved to Calgary. He's sort of known as Mr. A tier, so he was a massive experience to have on the committee. And people like Kerry Neal out of Kamloops, and Serge Gosselin out of Fernie, and so Wally was involved too in Falcons Flight 12. So we just had like the heavyweights of disc golf in Western Alberta came together to pull that off. And then since that time, the committee sort of continued. A few faces moved in and out of the committee, but largely the core team, same core team, has run an A tier for the last 4 years. So, it was kind of a slow progression over 15 years to what it is today, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So as we know it today, we have the East and the West course. Do you know what year the second course was added?
It was, I think it was a year later, or within the first 2 years anyway. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
And I saw, like, as you're saying here with the team, it is a who's who of heavy hitters, and still with Serge and now Jordan on the team, and Carrie as well, we saw there. Like, these are people who have run a lot of tournaments. Like, do you have any idea how many years of disc golf tournament history you probably have on your team? More than any other team, I bet.
Yeah, it's something like over 200 years of experience, right? Yeah, so just crazy, right? Like we're so lucky that all these people just decide to come together in honor of Rudy, right? So yeah, it's just an amazing group. And the funny thing is, as experienced as these people are, we still learn from each other, right? Guys like Wally will learn from Serge, like, oh, that's how you do that, and and that kind of thing. And so it's been really interesting to see, all these heavy hitters of, disc golf tournament directors or whatever, still learning from each other, right? And to me, that's one of the, the coolest things about the whole thing is everyone's still learning, from each other. We can, bounce ideas off each other and share, tips and where to get good swag and, all that sort of stuff, right?
Well,
Yeah.
Speaking of that, getting good swag, I want to turn it over to Jordan. And Jordan, why don't you just tell everybody, because Daryl and I got there a little late on Thursday. Daryl had signed me in and checked me in and picked up my pack. And he says, get in here, Jeremy, grab your beer, sit down, and I want you to open your pack and just see what you got. So Jordan, why don't you tell everybody what you guys were able to put together for this tournament for the AM packs? Oh, you're on mute there.
I think, yeah, you're on mute.
There you go.
So we ended up teaming up with Innova, and Innova came up huge for us this year. So we were able to give everyone two premium discs this year instead of just one premium disc.
Yeah.
Then Dawn was the one that got the guys, the Naqua guys on board, and we were to get everyone a Naqua there. And then my skills of sourcing stuff from overseas, I got all those hats made up and whatnot. And then we had our wonderful Pam. She ended up making those bead counters for everyone.
Nice.
And then Serge was actually the one that went and got the T-box socks good for us. Like, it was a big team effort this year to get our players packed together, and
Yeah.
it was just so awesome. And Serge also took care of the shirts as well, and of course Alex, Don's daughter, was the one that picked out the colors, and then Donnie also got the knee pads.
Yeah.
Also.
Well,
Yeah, that was actually that was Alex Penny who got us onto the knee pad thing. So that was, like Jordan says, total team effort.
Yeah. It's just like when, like Jeremy said, when I was telling him, get in here and have a look at your bag, it was like, pull out this thing. Let's pull out the next thing. Let's pull out. And it was like a never ending bag of goodies that we get as AMs. It's one of the best bags that we've ever had.
Well, I really look at it, Daryl, and if I had shown up with a pair of shoes and a pair of shorts, that was all I needed, because the rest of the stuff was in my
Exactly.
pack to play with, right? So
that's like the perfect pack, right? When you get the stuff in the pack that you don't have and that you need, it's perfect.
Yeah. No, that was great, guys, and really, really awesome. And if we go back, I had noticed that Aspen Meadows had posted a video of Rudy talking about the course and that was really awesome, really touching, and seeing that. And as you said, as the course was a little rough at the beginning, did I catch that he said that he cut the first course out just with a pair of shears, just going out, and that was all he had to make it happen?
Pretty much, yeah. Like, I remember playing it, I think in the first year, and it was rough, right? Like, you had to keep an eye on where your discs were and stuff like that. But the property was interesting. When Rudy was going to purchase the property, he was driving around with his parents and looking at this property and that property, and came across this one and looked around a little bit. And he's like, this is the one. And his parents are like, what do you mean this is the one? Like, what are you talking about? And the previous owner had logged it, and so had created some logging roads throughout the property to get at the good trees and stuff like that, and just left the rest. And so that alone sort of created some pathways on the property from which Rudy could work with, and then over the course of 15 years continue to carve and manicure and everything else, right? But he had looked at quite a few properties and said, "This is it. This is the one." And his parents were like, "Are you sure?"
Well, he made a good decision.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, and Daryl and I, after playing the course, we've talked about it a few times. We talked about some of our favorite holes and maybe some of our more challenging holes. Is that a good way to put it, Daryl?
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about that, but for each of you, what would you say is your favorite or your signature hole? Pick either course. What would you say, Jordan, Don, each of you?
Go ahead, Jordan.
I don't know. I'd have to say one of my favorite holes would probably be 2 on the east, the new 2 on the east. It's just so fun to play, and it's just you have to have the perfect shot to get around that corner, and if not, you're hitting the trees on either side there.
Yeah. Because like you said, that's a new addition to the course, right? If anyone's watched the Park Pro coverage, they would see the pros playing the shot down the hill to the right. When I got there on the Thursday night, and everyone was like, no, we're going up to the left-hand side now. I was like, what? I don't remember this. I didn't see this on the coverage. And it's extended the hole by another 100, 150 feet up to the hill on the left.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good choice for sure. What would you say is yours, Don?
I'd have to go with hole 8 on the east side. That's the one where, it's a total thinker's hole. You have to throw a layup to the corner in a good position in order to attack the green. And that's also the hole that we see the biggest numbers over the weekend. And we had a 15 this year. That was the highest I've seen. We usually get the odd 12 or something like that, but somebody, and I'm not going to name names, but somebody got a 15 on that this year. So it's one of the most punishing holes if you're if you're not paying attention. So yeah, hole 8 east for sure.
Yeah. Well, in hole 8 east, Daryl tried to get me a little prepared for it and said, Jeremy, just throw something nice and easy. just land it maybe close to the short pad because we were playing the long pads and go that way. And what did I do? I took out a putter thinking I've got this understable putter. I'm going to just put out to the pad and fired it straight to the OB on the left. And I didn't take that big number, but I did take a fairly sizable number.
Yeah.
But no,
it can punish people, especially when you get stuck on the corner there. You get stuck on the corner, you want to fly across, and then your disc hits a tree, and then so you're stuck there again, and you don't want to lay up right and go around when you're already there, right? So I've seen a few people empty their bags to try to finish out that hole.
That's what I think really makes a good hole, is where you're given options. Yeah, sure, there's a path all the way around the outside. You can lay up and take the long way. But look, the basket's right there. You can make that, right? And it's just so tempting to go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then at Falcons this year, it seems like the numbers are usually around the same. How many did you guys see what the final numbers were for registration?
257, I think we were at.
I think we had
we set the we set the pool size as 130 and 130 for both AMs and pros. So, but it was 257, 256 or something. Yeah.
Okay. And do you guys think that there'll be ever a chance, because this year it filled up in, like, I would say minutes, but it was really should have been counted in seconds in how fast the tournament filled up when it opened. Would you guys consider looking at options to grow that field to allow more people to come?
Yeah, that's something we've talked about, and there's a few reasons, and it's kind of intentional as to the size that it is. One, we have a certain capacity on the property for parking and things like that, and so the last 2 years that we've been at this size, the parking is filled up. There are areas on the property that we can start to create new parking areas if we need to, but that's one thing. The other is the amount of time that us as volunteers and committee members need to be running the event and the courses and the starters, and you guys have seen the amount of volunteers that we have out there or whatever. So that's just a much bigger volunteer commitment, and so I would say Falcons Flight will probably stay around this size. We do have potential aspirations to look at, Canadian nationals in the future or whatever. And so that would be a different animal, right? We certainly try to accommodate more people for something like that. But we kind of like the way the size that Falcons is. It's a big polished tournament, but the number of people is small. And so it still kind of maintains that community festival feel. And it's enough for, everybody to walk around freely there, and something that we feel like we can manage and maintain quite well, right? And maintain a high level of experience for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So moving it back onto the courses there, we heard that there was a rumor going around that somebody aced hole 18. And then we looked on PDG Live twice. Okay, we heard it. I know I heard about it once, but we looked on the PDG Live and we couldn't see it. But then we remembered that it was kind of more of a dark ace than a real ace.
Correct.
Obviously, you heard about that. Either one of you want to tell us what happened with those?
Yeah, I was on. Which hole was I on? I think I was on hole 17 or 18, and I saw a bunch of cheering going on, and somebody had hit the on the hole 18 east, the red Aspen Meadows tube that you see there with the rebar basket and the Falcon on top of it. So they had hit that, and then two people had hit it. One on Saturday and one on Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Do you guys?
I feel like we should be giving away a special prize for that. So maybe next year we'll think of something.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like we should have a bounty on that basket for next year.
Yeah, exactly.
If someone hits it, they got a little something, right?
Yeah.
Maybe there's two ace pots. There's the Falcons basket ace pot, and then there's the regular ace pot.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, that's just as much of an accomplishment as anything else to catch that one, because you're not going the way you meant to go when you get to that basket.
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
so we enjoyed playing the rounds of disc golf there, and then obviously when your round is done, you come back to your campsite or you go out and watch the other players go round, or you're volunteering, or whatever you might be doing there. But also in the evenings, we had some other activities as well. We had a long drive competition going on the Friday night, the qualifying and the actual competition on the Saturday, and there was also a putting competition as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So the long drive we started last year, the putting competition Surge has put on for 2 or 3 years now, I believe. So Surge coordinates the putting competition, and it's not like a traditional putting competition. He's actually created more like a mini course. It's a one-shot mini course throughout the trees on the west side, in between holes 10, 11, 18, kind of in the trees there. And he's got obstacles and pyramids and all kinds of cool stuff in there. And so nothing but rave reviews about the putting course, and it's almost there year round. Like you just got to go in there and shave the grass and stuff. And then last year we had put in the driving range and practice area. And at the time, it was actually a new requirement for A-tiers, where you had to have a practice area for competitors. And so that was the impetus for us to kind of look at creating a space where people could throw. And we weren't crazy about setting up nets and stuff like that. And so you guys saw the area there; it's huge, and so that was a lot of work. You can't just mow it; you mow it, but you got to remove all that dead grass. And so we were, hiking everything out of there or whatever to clean it up. But yeah, we had a long distance competition last year. It was an absolute blast. And so Howie took it on to kind of up it a notch this year. And maybe Jordan, you can talk about Cold Garden stepping in and helping sponsor that too.
Yeah. So as we all know, Cold Garden's major sponsor for Cold Garden Cup. And so, yeah, we had the idea to put $1,000 up, and so we went to him, and that's kind of where we settled on. Cold Garden Cup was going to throw $1,000, and then he would throw in a bunch of beer and gift cards and whatnot, and then we had the two kegs up on Sunset Hill there that everyone could share with or could drink, and we ended up finishing them both, so that was awesome. Yeah, even the committee was like, "Well, there's no way we're going to finish both of those," and I was like, "I think we will."
I think we will.
So we ended up getting them both finished. So yeah, it was an awesome experience to have that all together. To just Howie did a great job, and of course Wally and Robbie from Edmonton there helped him out with keeping the scores, and all of the awesome volunteers that were down in the driving range, running back and forth between drives to collect discs, and all the little kids going and collecting the ones that went out of bounds. And it was just so fun, and we're hoping to go bigger for next year, so just stay tuned for that, I guess. And
I was just going to mention that I think you might have to move the tee pad back a bit, or maybe cut some more grass down, because I was watching friend of the show Ben Loggins. He threw his disc, and he actually pushed the OB line, or the boundary at the back there. I think he had the longest drive of the whole weekend.
He did. He still didn't reach the bushes at the back, so there's probably still about 7,500 feet to go there.
Right.
We were kind of hoping Connell would be out on the weekend and could maybe push that for us, since he threw over 700 feet at Am Worlds. But nobody's hit the back wall of trees yet.
Right.
Yeah. No, that was awesome. And you were saying that you didn't think those two kegs were going to be done there, Jordan, but that's only because Daryl found out halfway through that there was those two kegs there, and then they started to go down quite quickly. Especially, Daryl, did you want to maybe tell Don? I know we already talked about it, but he thought he heard the biggest number on the course. Do you want to tell him or no?
Well, there was a 15 maybe on hole 8, but I think it was hole 11 on the par 5 that...
Hole 13.
Hole 13. Okay, I'm trying to forget which number it was. I did take a 17.
Oh.
Yeah, that was I just told the story, but landing up behind the trees, the pathway, walking up towards the hole of 14, and then throwing 6 putters or 6 discs down that pathway, because I can make this. I'm gonna make it down that pathway. Yeah.
Well, and I only brought it up, Daryl, just because I think that was what gave you the impetus to make sure to help take down those kegs that night. And I was ready to get right beside you there too.
They were there for medicinal purposes. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you guys mentioned the organizing committee, but that's not all. There is a ton of other volunteers. A number of those volunteers are actually members of Rudy's family. Is that correct? Like, how many people would be out there from his family helping out?
So there's both Amanda and Chrissy. Amanda's married to Reno, and their 2 kids, Ava and Luca. So they were out there. Rudy's sister, Kathy, and her partner, Derek, were out there. Grandma couldn't be out there this year. She wanted to be, but she couldn't make it. And then they had cousin Devin. Who else? That's all. That was a. And Randy Faulkner. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Randy was out there. So about 10 or so.
And I think it's really important to bring that up, just because that's another part of what this is. As much as it's a disc golf tournament and a gathering of us, it's like all in the memory of what Rudy was able to do and put together. And it's so great to see the family there and everybody. Like, I think that's what gives this event that different feel than any other event Daryl and I have ever attended. It doesn't have that same, you can't even describe it sometimes too, right? You just so friendly and so fun and so welcoming the whole weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right about that. And I've had other people say that. And there was even a few first timers to Falcons Flight that came out from BC and stuff like that. And they're like, there's nothing like this, right? So we're truly lucky to have this kind of property with 2 courses on it where, 150 people or 200 people can camp on site. The family's there, and just everybody's happy, and it's pretty special.
Yeah. Well, as we get ready to wrap up a bit, one of the things I wanted to throw out there was to get your guys' perspective. What was something that you just, struck you over the weekend, or was a great moment or something? It might not be a big thing. It might be, what was something that's a great memory for you of this past Falcons Flight? And
for me, it was how smooth it ran. For anybody who's directed a tournament before, there's always chaos behind the scenes, and maybe some drama or some issues to deal with and stuff like that. And we just didn't have any of that this year. From a committee perspective, like, the team worked so hard. We had 7 a.m. meetings every day, and then a 5:30 p.m. meeting at the end of the day to talk about how the day went and all that sort of stuff. But no complaints about that, and just everything just ran smooth. And once the tournament started, everyone just fell into their roles, and it was just on autopilot. And I just never ran or been a part of a tournament that ran as smooth as this last one did. Even the previous ones, there was always some chaos in the background or whatever, but that just didn't happen this time. It was pretty incredible.
Nice.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Don on that. Like, one of the things that, like, just walking around, socializing with everyone, and the gratitude from everyone on how awesome the tournament was. It was so awesome. Like, it's just so heartwarming to feel like the love of the tournament, right? And I'd have to say one of my memorable times was when on Friday evening, when a lot of people were actually in bed. And it was I've been saying that it was Rudy was up partying with us when the Aurora was happening, and they were dancing like crazy. I just so happened to capture a lot of photos and tried to capture some video, but not very much video turned out. But
yeah,
the photos I got were pretty spectacular, and just like, and it was funny because I was sitting around the fire and everyone's like, "Oh, these are so awesome," and I'm like, it's going to be way better on Sunset Hill. And I had a few people follow me, and they were like, everyone should have just listened to you and come up to Sunset Hill, because not having the light pollution from the fire around you, it was just so awesome to see the Aurora like that. I don't think I've ever seen it like that out there.
Yeah.
And we've seen quite a few of them out there. So.
Well, and Daryl, I think, can I speak for both of us to say that when we went on Saturday night and we went up to Sunset Hill and we ran into Jody and Brenda were up there, and we were standing with them and we were talking, and we'd looked up a couple times over the weekend, but then we looked up and we really took in the stars and took in the Milky Way, and we took in, there was a little bit of Northern Lights that evening, and we got to see them. And then Brenda had been waiting forever, it felt like, to see the Starlink satellites, and we saw this line come out in the distance, and we said, what is that? Is that like a jet stream streak? What's in the sky over there? And then we saw all 19 of them, and Daryl filmed them, and I don't know, that was definitely a highlight for me. How about you, Daryl?
Yeah, no, it was awesome, and it was great to experience it with Brenda, because if we'd have just seen it, we would have been curious about what they were. But she was able to fill us in, and yeah, it was just an amazing sight to see them go right across the sky, and then they came more in focus as they got right over the top of us, and then they just continued on and disappeared, and it was just like you said, an amazing sight to see on top of Sunset Hill, seeing the Northern Lights, seeing all the stars, seeing everything. It was just amazing.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you guys there, as you know, we've obviously wrapped up this. I'm sure you're still probably, tying up loose ends and things like that. As you look forward to next year, is there any sort of, I don't want to say committee, but is there like any survey or anything that someone can get in contact with you guys if they have any more suggestions on how to maybe better improve it for next year?
Yeah, we're definitely going to send out a survey this year. We've been talking about doing it for a couple of years, and we're usually so burnt out after the event that we just need some downtime, But we're definitely doing a survey this year. We'd love to hear people's feedback on the course, the event, the amenities, the food trucks, and everything else or whatever. So yeah, certainly there will be a survey coming out. I don't know when yet, but within the next couple of weeks for sure.
Perfect. No, that's great. And then as we wrap up, we always like to give you guys a little bit of time. Are there any sponsors or volunteers that you want to shout out, or anything else that you wanted to mention that we haven't covered?
Yeah, I would like to thank all the volunteers, honestly. Anybody who was wearing these shirts. So, I'll just stand out a bit. So these shirts are reserved for volunteers. They're not for sale. We only hand them out for volunteers. And I've heard from so many people that we're the most volunteer-powered event out there in terms of numbers of spotters and everything like that. We ordered 100 shirts this year, and we had one left. So we handed out 99 shirts to 99 volunteers. And, a good portion of them are players that were playing in the event. They would play for 3 hours and then go back to their car, change or whatever, come back and grab some flags and head back out and go spot for a few hours. So, it's just incredible the amount of people that are there to help us out to make this event what it is. And so, yeah, for me, it's a big shout out to the 99 plus people that offered their time to come out and help us.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, that's just so huge, the volunteers, and like, it was big thanks to all the volunteers that helped out with even the takedown on Monday morning. Like, that was just so awesome. I'd also like to shout out Limber for their huge support this year with allowing us to do our fundraiser event at the beginning of the year to get us kickstarted on our funds for the tournament. And if you don't know who Limber is, please support them as much as you guys can. Even if it's buying discs online, he ships. And then a huge shout out to Innova for what they did for us this year. It was Mark Melner at Innova really stepped up, and he helped us out huge this year with all the support and helping us out with the baskets and discs and whatnot and all the swag we got for the volunteers. And so
awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
And of course, Cole Garden. I can't forget Cole Garden for support.
Got to give Blake a shout out.
I love Blake. He's a brother to me now. Can't say much more than that. He's all big. He's just got such a big heart and just wants to support the disc golf community as much as possible. So,
yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for putting on an amazing tournament. It's one that Daryl and I will not soon forget. I know that. And, we didn't even talk about food trucks. We didn't even talk about the fact if you can't get in, you could volunteer all weekend and still get a chance to maybe play around here and there. There's just so many things. We could go on for an hour, but you guys, it was amazing. We're excited to talk to Bailey next and hear her perspective of it. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. Really appreciate it, guys. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for your time.
Okay. See you guys.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Yep.
Yeah, Daryl, like really,
Yeah.
there's so much more we could have talked
I
about,
know.
but
We have the outline, but we only scratched the surface. But we have somebody waiting, so let's carry on.
Our next guest is from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. She became a PDGA member in 2022 and already has 18 events under her belt. And Daryl,
Yeah,
out of those 18 events, she's won 9 of them.
that's 50%.
That's 50%. How's our ratio? Not that.
Not that.
She's also won the Saskatchewan Open Provincials most recently, and then Falcons Flight this past weekend. She's getting ready to head to the Gold Eagle Open to attempt a repeat victory, but has graciously agreed to join us tonight. Let's welcome Bailey Inglis to the show. Hello, Bailey. Welcome to the show.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, we can hear you.
Oh, thank you guys so much. This is so fun. Oh, awesome. Good.
Thank you for being here.
Bailey, you've already impressed Daryl just by having perfect sound.
Oh, amazing. Okay, cool.
It doesn't take a
So
lot to
good.
make me smile, but yeah, that's awesome.
So you were out at the Falcons Flight tournament over the weekend, and you're out in Saskatoon. And if I'm right, it took you what, 7 hours to get?
Yeah,
home, was
about
it,
6.5, 7 hours. So yeah. Not the longest drive I've done this year, but like a relatively long one. So yeah.
Oh, what would the longest one be?
I made it out to Kamloops for TCO.
Oh,
And so kind of did like a stopping Canmore, did the Big Bear, and then kept going to Kamloops the week after, which was really fun. So
Gotcha.
Wow.
Gotcha. Well, and then so have you kind of settled down? Are you still floating on cloud 9 right now, or where are you at?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm exhausted. I'm a nurse in ICU here, and I've been working nights these last couple nights since I got home, and so I'm very tired.
Oh, so it was true that you drove home, and then did you have a shift as soon as you got home?
No, thankfully it was the next night, but like
Okay.
had to just like prepare for, the next couple nights, make sure the house is still in working order and everything. And yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's start by saying congratulations on winning Falcons Flight 15.
Yes, thank you so much. It was so cool.
Yeah. and that's right after winning the Saskatchewan Provincials Open as well, right?
Yeah, it was out at Eagle Creek this year, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, we were just kind of in the little opening there before you came on. We noticed that you've played 18 events in your PDGA career so far, and you've won 9 of them. You've got a 50% win rating.
Not bad. Okay. Batting 50, that's not too bad. Okay.
I think if Daryl and I had 50% not bogeys, I think that would probably be about as close as we could get to your number.
Always the dream.
So this was your first time heading out to Falcons Flight. Tell us what you thought about it. What did you think about this tournament?
It was so cool. Like a couple years ago, a fella named Aubrey actually came to Sask Open, and he told us about Falcons Flight because I had never heard of it before. And like ever since then, he like just talked it up to this like wonderful, wonderful tournament. And I've wanted to come out since then. And we actually had plans. We were actually registered last year to come as well. But my partner's a teacher, and just with the start of school year and trying to finagle that and time off and everything, it just didn't quite work out. So I kind of made it a priority to actually get out there this year and actually experience it. And it was so worth it. Like, what a cool event. It is just like the epitome of disc golf community. It's so neat.
Yeah.
Did you stay on the property?
I actually stayed in a little Airbnb in Caroline. I thought about like camping just on the property, but I didn't know enough about like where the like showers were or like how to get around. I just couldn't figure out like the ins and outs of it. So I ended up just driving to and from Caroline, which was fine. So
Yeah.
Awesome.
No,
Yeah.
that's not too bad.
yeah.
And with Falcons, and like we were just talking to Jordan and to Don Annett, some of the tournament director and tournament coordinator of the event, and we were just kind of praising everything about the tournament because it, like you said, it wasn't just a tournament going on. There was so much more. What was Was there anything that really struck out to you, or some highlights beyond the tournament play, which we will get into?
Yeah, I think I was just so impressed with the amount of volunteers and the amount of like people just like willing to help out. At one point, I didn't know what the like timing schedule would be like, and so like at one point on Friday, I was like, oh, like maybe they need more spotters. Like I'll just like go see if they need extras, and they didn't need any extra help, like, which is incredible, because I've been helping with other tournaments around here in Saskatchewan, and we always need an extra set of hands for something, you know, either spotting or drawing lines or getting water or whatever it is, right? And that was all very taken care of. It's so well organized.
Yeah. Well, and whether, you know, we were on the AM side and we were raving about our AM packs and what we had given to us. It was just like the most you could think of. But if you were a volunteer, you also were spoiled. They were getting shirts. They're getting those opportunities too. So I think that's just something, everybody wants to be part of this event, and there is a way, even if you're not a player, you can still be part of it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just like so cool to like say that you get to be a part of it because of how cool the event is.
Yeah. So when did you get to Aspen Meadows? Did you get any practice rounds in before?
Yeah, so I left early Thursday morning from Saskatoon and arrived like Thursday afternoon, and actually bumped into Amber Chason, which was great, because she was going out for a practice round too. So that was much nicer, because I've done practice rounds by myself before and then just like lost discs everywhere, right? And so it's always really nice having an extra set of eyes with each other and kind of like talking out the holes a little bit and kind of, you know, what's your plan here? And especially as like Amber's a lefty too, and so she's always got a different perspective for every hole. And so yeah, so we kind of did a really quick practice round on East, and then I snuck out to West as well just to kind of see it, and did a few shots there. Ran into a group of guys, I think it was Daryl Watson and Tilly, and they just took me on their card, which was perfect. And yeah, we kind of played that out. So yeah, so it was good to like see it, because it's always hard going in blind. So
yeah. So as excuse me, and as a pro, you played West, East, West.
Yes. No, it was East, West, East. Right?
Sorry, East, West, East.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which of the courses did you prefer?
Good question. Because I like just haven't, like, I've now played East 3 times and West twice, right? I'm not quite sure yet, because they each have like such cool elements. I like love the fact that West has this like front 9 that's wooded and back 9 that's different, and like that's really cool. But East has such like different lines, I guess, like such like so a variety of lines, and that is really fun as someone that comes from flatland and and just open fields, and you know, lots of your shots are just these big bombers usually, right? Like just you kind of hope it goes, you know, you can be off by a few degrees, whereas in Aspen Meadows, like you got to really be on your line in order to hit that shot.
Yeah. That probably just drives home how great of a victory it was for you, that if you're not practicing this type of course every day, it's not like you can walk out your back door and be on a wooded course.
I know. And
to actually go and play and hit those lines in a tight course with lots of OB.
Don't worry, I hit a lot of trees too. Yeah, it's been really lovely. Even just like when we went out to BC with Canmore and TCO, just getting to play different types of courses is so great. And we actually ended up going this year, a group of friends, we went to Colorado and just had like a fun disc golf trip. My partner Kyle like planned out this really beautiful trip where we got to like play in the mountains and lots of wooded courses, and that was just awesome. Yeah.
Nice. That's really cool. And as you got to play those courses, the one thing that Daryl and I talked about a couple times, and we were breaking it down, was trying to figure out what was one of our favorite holes, and then maybe what was one of our, we're not supposed to say this word. Gabby said we're not supposed to use it. Was it Gabby? And Colleen probably too.
Gabby
said we're not supposed to say our nemesis holes, but we also have those too. So do you have a favorite hole?
We have holes that we didn't play well on the first time.
Yeah. Probably one of my favorites, like on East, I think it's hole 7.
Okay.
It's kind of like an uphill, and as a right-hand player, it's probably like a really kind of harsh Annie line.
Okay.
I just like that shape was really cool, and I like wish I could be better at that. I definitely hit some trees on that one.
The blind tee shot.
Yeah,
right?
it's blind. Yeah, you can't see anything, but it's like just like it comes out to this kind of opening, and the basket's like in the sunlight, and it's just like it's very picturesque. Yeah,
very well framed.
Yeah, super well framed. So that's a really cool hole. And then honestly, like the next hole, not that it's a nemesis hole, but like I really want like hole 8 with the lots of trees in the middle, lots of OB all around, if you remember that one. I really wanted to go over the trees, and I convinced myself on the last round just to lay up. Yeah.
And that's good. And we were talking about just a little earlier. I said I was going to lay up with a little putter shot that I threw directly into the OB left. So, it doesn't always work the way you plan.
That's totally it too. That's what I kind of thought. It felt like you could screw up this layup pretty easily too. So like first round, I went over the trees being like, well, what's the worst that can happen? And, I went out of bounds. So
yeah.
There you go.
We have Kristen in the chat. So I just got to bring this up on.
I just thought it was just a beautiful hole. That's all. It was just like, I have one disc that's like just like that's understable enough to do it, and I hit it pretty good in the first round. Didn't hit it in the third round, but.
Well, speaking of those rounds, if you're okay with it, we've got a little bit of the history. Some people, when we talk to them, they remember every shot, every disc, everything everyone did. Other players don't remember anything. So we're prepared for either side of it.
Yeah.
So we wanted to walk through the rounds with you there. So when we take a look, round 1 was at East, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
You shot a +3. You had 4 birdies, 5 bogeys, 2 doubles, and an eagle.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to hear about is that eagle on hole 13, because that's a par 5 with a ton of OB around the green. How did you do it? How did that happen?
Yeah, that was that was not on my bingo card to get. So and it was when it happened, when I actually got it, I was like, no way, like I can't believe it happened. But yeah, I did a forehand off the tee and landed in a not too bad spot. I don't think I was in the trees too much. And I think I just did a reactor shot in, and it just worked out perfect that it like got into circle. Like I think I was still 20 or 25 feet out. And then as I came up to it, I was like, no way, I could get this. And I'm not a good pressure putter, I'm not gonna lie. And so I was fully anticipating missing that putt, and it actually worked. And I was like, wow, it actually happened.
That's great. And even too, that 25-footer, sorry, Darryl, I'll let you go in a sec. There was that 25-footer, when you're looking at that, the OB is close.
I know.
You airball that one.
I know. Exactly. So yeah, it was just kind of one of those moments where I just had this internal dialogue where I was like, okay, you can do this. You got this. Just go for it. This is that moment, and it worked out. So that was pretty cool, because from then on, I think I kind of did an accordion, eagle. I think I bogeyed, maybe birdied next, bogeyed, and yeah. But it from then on, I was like, wow, this round is actually okay. It's not the worst, I guess. So
yeah. No, I was just going to say, I was looking at our notes here. Do you remember what you did on hole 3, on round 3 on that hole? You eagled it the first round. Do you remember what you took on the third round?
Yeah, I think I took a 5, which was unfortunate.
Yeah.
So was hoping maybe for the birdie. Knew I wouldn't eagle it again. Yeah. For sure knew I wouldn't eagle it again. But yeah, did a bad up shot on my second shot, and then had to kind of save it from there. So
right.
Yeah. Well, with that round there, with the +3, that put you in first place after round 1. You had 3 strokes, and you had Terry and Gabby right behind you. So starting on round 2, when you headed to West, those were your 2 card mates. And I was lucky enough that I was up early, and I was able to actually follow your card and kind of jump between the 2 FPOs for a bit there, and it was awesome to watch. So on West, you shot a +1. You had 2 birdies, 1 bogey, 1 double, but it was really a clean round, and it allowed you to extend your lead by 1 stroke over Terry Hong. So what would you say is some of the memorable moments from that round that you can remember?
Yeah, I think it just ended up being just nothing was so bad, other than what was it, hole 10 that I double bogeyed. I just threw it straight into the ground. And I was like, what is wrong with me? But other than that, everything else just felt like nothing was of too bad of a consequence. I didn't make any like too big of mistakes. It felt unremarkable, honestly, was the big thing, because like pars are great, right? But they don't feel as good as like, you know, I don't know if it feels better to get birdie, bogey, or par, right?
Yeah.
But so yeah, I just ended up not making too many big mistakes. I even had some like birdie looks and that I just like missed, which was too bad. But it ended up being a relatively clean round, and I was pretty happy with it at the end. I don't check scores until the end, so I didn't know really how it was going until I finished.
I was just going to ask that. Yeah, are you obviously you're not a scorecard watcher, but are you taking it? Are you aware what your teammates are doing or your card mates are doing at that point, so you can know whether you're gaining on them or you're losing strokes, or are you just focused on your own game? You're playing it, and then whatever works out in the end.
Yeah, lots of the times I'm probably more focused on my own game and just making sure I am doing the shots. I could feel Terry doing well in that second half. She had a little harder start in the first half of West, and then I could feel her like birdieing and like coming back. So I had no idea where she was at until the end, because it felt like she was gaining momentum again. And I think she even said that at one point. Like she's like, like I'm finally warmed up. Like this is so much better now.
Well, and I think there was, when I came back to see you guys, I was up ahead and I came back on hole 8 and I was at the basket and Terry was in the woods. And that was when she threw that forehand, that super S-curve forehand going into the basket. Yeah, that's when I think I got the sense too, as you said, is that, oh, she's heating up. She was starting to feel like her game probably. And it was probably just, you know, a little bit of nerves and right, just like needing that momentum to be on your side again and stuff. So yeah. Yeah. Well, let's finish it off. Then you go back for round 3 and you're on the East course. You, Terry, and Gabby again for the final round. Terry and Gabby are both wanting to push to take the lead, but you seem to be kind of calm and collected because you played the first 9 holes even, 5 pars, 2 bogeys, 2 birdies. So it was just a nice little even round. And then both Terry and Gabby go out and score some birdies, but they couldn't quite catch up to you. So you were kind of feeling pretty comfortable going into 18. But then you still went and got a birdie on 18. What were you thinking at that point?
Yeah, it was really interesting. So I had just gotten a double bogey, which I was not happy about on 17 there, because I hadn't even done like the risky play. I did the safe play and it still ended up in a double bogey, which was unfortunate. But I had a really nice shot on 18 off the tee. And I was like, kind of circle's edge. And when I came up to the putt, because I think I knew I was ahead still, but I've been trying to really honor like when I feel good, and like if there's like an intuition of like, hey, you feel really good, like you should go for it. And I don't know, have you ever read Carrie Soto is Back? It's a sports book. It's a tennis player, and she talks about having this buzz and like this feeling that she's like gonna just like hit shots and she's like on it. And that's what I had it. Like I had this buzz that I was like, you feel good. And I just like went for it and I finished off because I was not happy with my final score. And lots of my gameplay is actually just about like me versus the course. I try not to actually think about me play versus Gabby or versus Terry, because it's not actually about that. It's a very individualized sport. Right. And so I really wanted to beat the course a little bit more, so I went for it.
And sure enough, you did that. You beat the course on that last hole and took the birdie. And then was it just arms up in the air?
No, I think I was still nervous. I was still just, you mentioned that I was calm and collected. I don't know if I was. Like Gabby is the most calm and collected. She seems so like nerve free throughout the round. It's awesome to watch and to like be there. I was nervous the entire time. So,
well, you didn't need to be too much there because you took the win. You had a +8 to finish, and then Terry and Gabby managed to tie for second.
Yes. I didn't realize that till the end either, that they had kind of tied. So,
and that was cool. So, like we're so impressed. It was I had like we'd seen your name come up a number of times when we're doing our fantasy picks and just maybe looking at other tournaments and that, but getting to meet you and see you play, we realized, okay, there's a reason you're up on the top of those, and it was awesome to get to meet you and to watch you for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
One thing I noticed that you mentioned that your partner wasn't able to come with you, but I noticed that you caddied yourself. You carried your own bag. Would that have been a plan? Would he have caddied for you?
Yeah, like oftentimes he usually plays MA2, and so if our tee times do align, or like a line that we can do that, we like to like be there with each other on their rounds. Honestly, he probably watched the entire thing on PDGA Live because I got tons of texts from him being like, yeah, like stay on the par train, like this is great, like just keep up the clean round, like you're doing so good. So yeah, he was on the wait list. Unfortunately, he signed up. I think I heard you guys mention earlier how quickly this tournament filled up. And I think he signed up, I don't know, 10 minutes after it started, and that was too much. It was too late. Yeah, so
oh, that's what it is. So now, next up for you is going to be the Gold Eagle Open, which is happening this weekend. And you won this last one, this one last year in a playoff. And I think it was like, was it a 2 or 3 hole playoff against Terry?
4
hole playoff. And from what we understand, she's coming back to battle you again. How excited are you for that?
I'm super excited. I think Terry's like not out for blood because she's the kindest person and most fun loving person ever, but like I think she's ready to win this one too.
Yeah, well,
it's a great course. I don't know if you've ever been out to the Jackfish course, but it is really, really nice, like rolling hills, lots of different trees, and the beachside one is I wish it was up all year. So
yeah, we've heard that for sure about the beach one. Is it's just that nice that if it could be a permanent course, but I guess it would affect people enjoying the beach if it was a permanent course.
Yeah, definitely.
So, well, we did reach out to Terry and asked her how she thought about the weekend. So we spoke to her and asked if she had any thoughts that I could share on the podcast. And she said she was so excited that there is now another FPO player that she's playing with that helps turn it into a fun and friendly competition and camaraderie. Because that's what she said. She said just the vibe the whole weekend was amazing, and she just loves to have more of that on the tournament field in the FPOs. So she said that, and she said she was absolutely stoked about that part and just playing with you. But she did say, watch out, because she's coming for you this week.
Yeah. I can feel it. I know she's coming. Yeah.
We also reached out to Gabby as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, Gabby said that this was the first time that she was meeting you or playing with you. She can't wait to play with you again. She said that you were so lovely. She was impressed with just how consistent you were on the course and mentioned that your putts were on fire.
Well, cool. I'm glad she felt that way.
That's one of those things when people are on the outside looking at it, but what you're going through internally it could be totally different.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice. Thanks, guys.
Well, we always like to, the one thing we want to do is we always want to uplift Canadian pros and bring more attention to them. And we reach out to the cards. It's just lucky that you're such a great person that everyone had nice things to say.
Honestly, like if I'm so glad you guys were around to see the second round FPO cards, because FPO is just a great time. Honestly, like it's pretty lighthearted. Like people are like, they encourage them. They're super happy about your good shots, right? Like there's always good things happening on an FPO card. There's not a whole lot of tension as much. Maybe if I'm comparing it to like an MPO card, that might not have as much like chat.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's part of what we like to do, and when we go to the tournaments and watch the FPO, because there is that exactly. You guys have the best vibe. It's really fun to watch and that type of thing. And also too, when we look at the lines, we can possibly just potentially reach your lines at one point. But if we were watching the MPO lines, it's like, I'm not throwing it in a hyzer 100 feet into the air and cutting a corner.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Happening.
Yeah. Oh.
So it's nice because we could also learn, that's how you play that hole, the same way Bailey did. So, yeah. So it's good. Bailey, one of the things we always like to do when we have a pro on the show is kind of tap into a little bit of your knowledge to help us amateurs get a little bit better. So in the second round, I played Aspen Meadows East, and we're going around the corner to that left basket. And I told myself before, I said, stay calm, take it easy, put it straight out in the fairway. I even stopped and tied my shoe, made sure everything was good. I then proceeded to hyzer it and throw it short and end up in the shortcut. And I managed to thread the gap and take a 4, but it started a long line of bogeys. So my question to you is, do you have any strategies to get your game on track, especially when it goes off the rails quite early?
Yeah, good question. I think part of it is just like remembering to breathe is usually the biggest part, because I like just think back. It's like, if your brain's not oxygenated, you're not going to make good decisions, and it's going to lead to bad shots. So just like take a breath. It's all good. Keep it light. And yeah, probably just like a little bit more like positive self-talk. It's like, yeah, you got this. Like just one shot at a time. Just, keep doing that. So
well, that's good advice for sure. I'm sure the breathing, even when we're doing the podcast, Daryl will be like, okay, he stopped talking. It's because he ran himself out of breath. Now I can slip in.
Oh, I get a word in. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Bailey, before we let you go, we wanted to let you have a moment there. Is there any sponsors or any things that you wanted to shout out or let everyone know about before we let you go?
Well, I'm a free agent. I am not sponsored, which is totally fine for me. But I'll probably just give a shout out to my partner, Kyle, who is just the biggest supporter of, I'll call it my mini pro tour this year. This was the first full year where I entered FPO, since last year I only did, I think it was 2 events. FPO. I still feel like an FA1 player, I'm not gonna lie. And yeah, he's just always willing to see my goals through and go for a round with me and talk through a round, and it's awesome. So I will shout out Kyle, who's been just lovely this year.
Awesome.
Well,
Bailey, you're not sponsored now, but I'm sure it won't be long, because as soon as people see this conversation and continue to see all of your wins going up on PDGA, they're going to be silly if they're not picking you up. So
let's hope. I'm free agent. Give me an offer, right?
Anyone you're looking at? Any plastic you throw in your bag more than anyone else?
Not necessarily. I love my Grace as a driver. I've recently picked up a Trail from MVP, and it's it is such a great disc. So those are probably my 2 main off the tee drivers right now, and those are great. So, but I throw all plastic right now. So
yeah,
nice,
cool.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Bailey.
Thank you so much for inviting me. This has been great.
Awesome.
All the best.
We'll be doing Gold Eagle as an A tier.
Yes.
And if you take down the win, we like to speak to all the winners from the
amazing. Yes.
So we should be talking to you again next week.
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome.
It's true.
If you're available.
Yeah, if I'm available. Yeah, we're heading to nationals as well. It's the 3 A tiers in a row here in Western Canada. So, well, I'm back to work for a couple of days, and then we leave Wednesday for Kamloops. So, I guess Clearwater. So
yeah, and I'm heading out that way, so I won't see you this weekend, but I'll see you again there at nationals.
Amazing. See you guys at nationals. I'm so excited.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you guys. Have a great one.
Thank you
Bye,
too.
Bailey.
Bye.
Well, Daryl,
what is it about all the guests that we get are all so positive and are great to talk to, and are we've never had a guest yet that's been on and been so negative and miserable that we didn't want to talk to them again. Everyone's so uplifting and positive.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's why we want to bring these Canadian pros to people, just to see how amazing they are. And a lot of them are still, like Bailey, she's not sponsored at this point. She's working her full-time job, and she's trying to fit in her mini tour at the same time.
Yeah.
That's what these people are doing to advance in the sport.
Yeah. And hopefully we can shed some light on them, or give them the opportunity to get their personality out there. And I'm sure the sponsors are going to be knocking on her door very, very soon.
Yeah.
Rolling right along.
Who do we got next?
You go for it, Jeremy, because I don't know where we are.
All
Our
right,
next guest is from Cranbrook, BC. He's played 11 tournaments this year, and he's won 6 of them. The most recent being Falcons Flight, which is his 4th victory at that tournament. He is currently tied with Matt Regicnik and Thomas Gilbert for the 2nd highest PDGA rating of any MPO player. Let's welcome previous friend of the show, Casey Hanemayer, to the show.
Welcome, Casey.
Hey, Casey, how are you doing?
Hello.
Great to see you again.
Good, how are you guys?
Yeah, good. It's great to see you, and thanks for coming on the show. We just finished talking with Bailey Inglis and got the whole breakdown of how the FPO side of Falcons Flight went, and we're excited to talk to you about the MPO. So,
nice.
Yeah. When we talked to her, it seems like, Falcons Flight brings in people from all over. So Bailey was from Saskatoon, took her over 6 hours to get home. For you were heading back to Cranbrook. What was that? Is that like a 5-hour drive you had to do after the tournament, or?
Yeah, it's about 5 hours. Yeah, so I left there about 7. I got home about midnight. So. Yeah.
Oh, and promptly just fell into bed and passed out. Is that probably how it worked?
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. I left all the stuff in my car and just went right to sleep.
Yeah.
Did you ever contemplate staying on site the Sunday night and traveling back on the Monday?
We actually, it's funny, everybody asks me why I never stay on site in camp, but I don't know, I've just kind of been there, done that, I guess. And I always just always have gotten an Airbnb and then don't want to pay for that extra night. So then I just drive home after that on Sunday.
Yeah. Well, we know a lot of times you and Ben spend some time together. Were you guys staying at the Airbnb and drove home together, or?
No. So his work actually kind of really messed him up this year. Oh. I know a lot of people knew, but yeah, I'll tell everybody the information. But he got off work on Friday night. And the tournament started on Friday.
Yeah.
So he got off work Friday morning at 5 a.m. And he had to drive up. He slept for like 2 hours in the Airbnb and then went straight to the course. So yeah, his weekend wasn't the best because he would, like anybody knows, you're driving that far right after work, right? And working all night and then driving up. So
well, and those who, like Ben was on the show with us previously as well, and we learned that even when he was on the show that night, he had to run because he drives trains, right? He runs trains, so he would have been driving a train all night and then driving a truck or a car or whatever it was to come out to the tournament. 2 hours of sleeping on the course. Yeah. I think he did pretty darn good for being that sleep deprived, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get right into it. So first thing, it feels like we're always congratulating you on wins, but let's do it again. Congrats on the big win at Falcons Flight. When I was researching, and I've had my research wrong, Daryl loves to remind me when I do, but it looks like this is your 4th time winning the tournament, is it?
Yeah, it's number 4.
Yeah. So what do you think it is about this tournament? What is it that is it just play into your strengths? Is there something about it?
I really don't know. It definitely has my strengths for sure. Like I throw a lot of forehands, and I would say I kind of pride myself in having probably the best forehand in Canada.
Right.
And I really, really like kind of all like the little chip shot forehands as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it most of the course plays into my strengths, and it's not a super power course. It's more of a placement course, right? So if you can get into spots where you can make a putt, I usually make the putt, and that's what saves you a lot of strokes, is not going OB and just making a putt when you have a look. So
yeah. Well, and as you say, you are, I agree with you. Is Daryl and I were talking about watching the Park Pro coverage from last year, and we say that it's really good. It gives you an idea what the lines look like in that, but what it doesn't do is it doesn't tell you elevation very well, and it doesn't tell you depth perception either. So what we found was when we hit, because we in MA40 we were playing the same tees as the MPOs and some of the longer ones, and we found out that those first couple holes on West, they're not quite as long as they looked in coverage there. And if you didn't pick the right disc, you were going out of bounds really, really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. So those chip shots that you're saying, yeah, if you've got those dialed in, it would have played quite well to it. So
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I've always noticed, like going back to that tournament, is if you've played that course before and have experience on it, you have a huge advantage. You have a really big advantage playing there.
yeah, some of those lines, then you have an idea where to put those shots, because it really is put it in the right spot or get punished. Even if it's not an OB shot that you get punished, some of those aspen sides on the forest on the sides of the fairway, they're pretty hard to get out of there. You're going to be playing plinko just to try and get out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you have a favorite out of the two courses, or which one do you prefer more?
You know what? I like them both because they're so different.
Yeah.
Right. It's like they're not like, obviously the front nine of the West course is similar to the East, but I would say the West has those tight lines with a little bit longer shots. And then the West side has the kind of the open longer shots, right? The back nine. So I think they complement each other really well. And I said this on Park Pro in the acceptance speech, is all the work that they do. Everybody knows, and that's why that tournament's so big every year, is everybody who helps out and works on that course and is doing little tweaks here and there every year now to make it better, is people want to come back every single year. And it's, I know kind of the guys, the old boys who are taking care of it, they want to make it better and bigger every year. So yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
We can get into some of those changes when we go through the round here, especially on the changes on the East course. Let's get to it. You started on the East course.
Yep.
You started out a little rough with a double bogey and then a bogey.
Yeah.
And then after that, things were right on track for you. 7 birdies, 1 more bogey to finish, -3.
Yeah.
You know, talk us through that round there.
Obviously you never want to start like that. It was, and it's funny because I told myself, I was like, everybody thinks that they can shoot 10 down at this course, but you will always get bit, right? Yeah. It's like I will be very, very surprised if anybody who comes to that tournament can shoot a double-digit score there. Like it would be unbelievable for somebody to shoot a double-digit score. But yeah, that round, obviously you're right. Like I didn't want to start like that, but I battled back. I kept my composure. I just told myself, I was like, the first 3 holes actually of that course are like some of the hardest in Canada. Those three starting holes. Now, because like hole 2 got changed, right? So that hole became really difficult. And then hole 3, same thing. Like you're happy to come out of there with a 4, depending how your drive is, right? So I just told myself, I was like, just take your birdies when you can get them, and you're gonna get right back up there. And I was obviously I was a little scared after Noah shot a 7 down in the first round, and I was just like, well, I've always kind of brought myself back on the West course, so and yeah, it wasn't any different this year. I kind of jumped right back up to the top. So that was good. Yeah.
Speaking about those changes, so there was changes to hole 2, like you said. What we said earlier, if you watched the coverage last year, you were playing down to the right. Now it's another 150 feet up to the left.
Yep.
Hole 4 has changed as well. Probably not as much of a change for you as it is for us AMs. You're still, the tee pad's a bit further back. And then the other one I wanted to speak to you about was, I believe it's I want to say it's I'm forgetting which one it is. It's
11.
The one with the new triple Mando.
Yeah, 11.
Yeah. What do you think about the changes on that one?
So anybody who likes throwing over top on that hole won't like it, right? I didn't like it, but I understand it because last year a couple of people got hit, right? When there was a gallery and stuff. So I don't know, like the people who weren't there last year probably don't realize it was a safety. That's the only reason they put that triple Mando is for safety.
Right.
So yeah, that's the only thing. And not many people liked it, but like I understand why they had to do it. So
yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, as you said, that put you in a tie, 3-way tie with for third with Jackson Peace and Eric Hjorth-Olsen. And then, like you said, that was a 10-16 rated round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't feel like that though.
Exactly.
No, every year it's always funny playing in that tournament though. Is like it always doesn't matter how you shoot. It always seems like the rating is better because, like I said, everybody there's good disc golfers that get bit, right? They shoot +7, right? It's like if you can just shoot under par, you're gonna have a chance in that tournament. So
yeah. And your rating's going to reflect it too, right? If you can play clean, you'll get rewarded.
Yeah. So then moving on to round 2, you head out to the West course, the quote unquote easier of the 2 courses. You made quick work of it. You shoot an 8 down with 10 birdies, 2 bogeys. Now you've moved up to first place after 2 rounds, 1 stroke over Eric Wiebe and Eric Hjorth-Olsen as well.
Yeah.
Jeremy and I played MA40. We played the same tees as the pros there. We have to ask because it's one of our, we don't, like we say, we don't want to say nemesis holes, but what's the secret to the par 5 hole 12? Because you took a birdie on that, and I think Jeremy took a snowman.
Two snowmen.
I think I took an 8 and a 10. Like, how do you play that hole?
That hole is the name of the game is just stay out of the trees, right?
So, it's getting harder, right? Because it's growing in even tighter now.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was the second year I played there. You could throw over everything because the trees were like 4 feet, 5 feet tall. Right. So you could just throw forehands over everything. But now that they're 10 feet tall, you actually have to throw down the gap most of the time. You can't throw over top of them.
Right.
But yeah, my play is just throw a forehand down into the kind of the flat on the bottom down to the right. Kind of get onto the flat. That's what I try to do every year.
Right.
And kind of land in the middle. And this year I was a little short, so I had to kind of throw like a turnover. And I threw it absolutely perfect. And I had I probably had a 150-foot jump putt in. And you'll see it on coverage. I had a jump putt in from 120 feet. And I just laid it under the basket. Yeah.
So are you telling us that off the tee, you're throwing a forehand around the Mando, around the corner, and then down on the flat? That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we got to do, Jerry.
That's what we got to do, Daryl.
Yeah.
All right, I can see when that took me 2 shots to get to that same point, maybe 3. That's part of what I got to work on.
Yeah.
And the big thing is staying out of those trees because the shots that we're throwing, they're always fading out. They're at the end, or we put too much turn on them. We're ending out off the fairway. And once you're off, you're adding on another 2 strokes right there.
Yeah, because that hole is a perfect hole actually now, because if you get too tight to those trees, it's pretty much a stroke, right? And then the other side's even worse. The right side is if you throw in there, it's like way thicker, right?
Yeah.
So each side of that fairway is it's a true par 5. It really is.
Yeah. And we even find with it too, as you said, is that when you get in there, and you don't even have to be in there very far.
Yeah.
You may just have to take your medicine, take that stroke, and just pitch out to the fairway so you've got another shot. Like you're right. I think that is a really interesting hole that way. You either play it properly and you can get your par or birdie in your case, or you get punished the whole way down.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go down to round 3. Back to the East course. This time you start out clean. You got 4 birdies, 5 pars on the front 9. Eric and Luke both trying to catch up, but you didn't give them any wiggle room. You ended up finishing the round with a -5 and took down the win with a -16 overall. Now, Jeremy wrote the outline here, so I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it looked like you were playing safe, taking pars on 14 to 17, and then you went down and took a birdie on 18. Is that kind of how was your mindset going into the final few holes there?
14 is pretty much a par every time. Like it's always super surprising if somebody birdies that hole.
Right.
Like I bet you that hole averages like just over par every single year, because if somebody can get a birdie on that hole, it's like unbelievable. I didn't look at the stats, but I doubt if it was birdied in the last round.
Right.
14. So it's like that one, I just take a par every time, and they can't get a stroke on me there.
Yeah.
15. There was a chance, actually. I didn't throw a very good shot for them to get a birdie on that hole. And then I don't think anybody birdied it, actually. But yeah, I just laid up for my par on that one. Didn't throw a good drive on 16. And again, that hole is like super tough to birdie unless you get a nice drive down. 17, I threw a really nice drive. I was just on the circle, but because I was the closest, so I just let everybody see what they did. And the only person who actually had a chance at it was Luke.
Right.
And at that point, I think I had 4 strokes. So he missed our birdie putt. Oh no, I laid up before him, actually. Yeah, no, I was just like, well, he has 4 strokes. I have 4 strokes. So I was just like, I'll lay this one up because, and then even if he birdies 17 and 18, I would have still had 2 strokes. So
yeah.
So I laid up 17, and then I threw a really good shot on 18 and made a putt from circle's edge on 18 for the birdie. So
right.
yeah,
we were talking to Bailey earlier when she was approaching her final round, and she was mentioning that she's not a score checker. She just plays her own game, and then when she got to the end, she didn't realize that the difference in score to Terry and Gabby in third. Obviously, you must check the scores. Then you're always watching. You know what do you check it all the way around, or just when you're coming into the final stretch?
Yeah. So my phone actually wasn't working for the last from 14 till 16. So I actually went to the crowd, and I talked to Rob Sharp. Actually, his phone was working still. So I was talking to Rob Sharp, and I was like, hey, can you let me know what the score is? And at that point, I think I still had 4 strokes. But
right.
yeah, you'll see on coverage. I don't want to spoil it, but there was some things that happened, but
yeah,
okay,
that could have made it really close.
Yeah, no, that we don't want to take any thunder from that for Park Pro. So once Matt and Andre get that coverage out, we're all going to be excited to watch it, and anybody who was at the event gets to relive it again as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that kind of took you to that win. And I think, Daryl, we're getting some pretty good activity, Casey, in the comments right now.
Yeah.
Do you want to maybe throw up a couple comments and see if
absolutely.
we can?
Kristen Swirls, who's the FPO on the FPO side, has a question for you about 12 East. What do you think about the OB change on 12 East? Easier, happy, going for it?
So that's another one of the changes. Yeah, I think that is a great change. Before, I don't think it was a par 3. They just kept it a par 3 with all the OB around it.
Right.
That change makes that hole a par 3, and people actually can go for it now. I went for it every round. I never kind of got close enough to get the 2.
Right.
But I agree that it will make that hole more fun to play. Like you guys played it last year?
We played it this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you never played it with all the OB around it.
No.
Right.
But it was, for me, that hole was a par 3. And then it never really was fun though, because you were always just laying up. You're just throwing a putter to the top of the hill, and then chipping a putter across, and then taking your 3. Right now, it's like you can get a driver off the tee and try to go for it every time. Right. And I don't know. It brings more like stroke separation in play. I know it probably doesn't, but in my mind, it makes that hole so much better to play, because you can actually just throw a disc hard. Because on that course, there's enough of those holes where it's just like I said, you just need to chip something up to the basket. Mm-hmm. Right? It's like you want more holes where you can actually just throw. Yeah. If it's a par 3, that I think that hole plays 460 or something, and it's just cool when you can throw a driver on a 460 foot hole and try to get the 2 on it. Right? It just brings more fun into the course.
Yeah. And probably more joy to actually, when you nail it, it feels very satisfying. And watching that disc fly 460 feet and have to thread that line and uphill. That's a thing of beauty when it works.
Yeah.
Jordan Always in the chat here, and he checked the stats. He said there was only 1 bird on 14 the whole weekend.
There you go.
Which kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we, when you were saying that the phone wasn't working, I'm telling you, Case, that's the one thing, and that's part of the allure and beauty is just being in the woods and being in the mountains and the foothills. But yeah, I was paper scorecard all 3 rounds because I just couldn't get anything else going.
Yeah. Yeah, I never really answered the question, but yeah, I legit only started like thinking about the score on 14 because I didn't really know where we were because I knew I had a couple, but yeah, as soon as Rob Sharp kind of showed me, he's like, oh yeah, you have 4 strokes on 14. So I was like, okay, I'm feeling pretty good. Like 4 strokes with 4 holes to play, right? That's a nice cushion to have.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, and it gives you that ability to then start developing a strategy going into the end with your other card mates. Yeah. So, no, that's great. One of the things we love to do, KC, is when we have one of these recap shows, is we like to reach out to some of your card mates and see what kind of thoughts and opinions we get out of them. So we reached out to Eric Yorth Olson, and you know what he said? He said your score should have been even better. He mentioned that you had 2 absurd spit outs on back-to-back holes. And we were just kind of wondering, you remember the ones that he's talking about in particular at all, or?
Oh yeah, that's the stuff I was saying about you'll see on Park Pro.
Okay, so we'll leave it at that. Well, and then he said to us too, he said, it felt like you had perfectly weighted putts. And then he goes out and he hits them like bullets and his stick in and yours don't. So, okay, we won't talk about what holes they are or anything more about that, but it's maybe a little sneak preview of what to watch. So, yeah. So that was the one thing. And then he said that he felt that he and Luke tried to catch you, but just your putt was unstoppable. And he felt that was what set you a step above the rest of the field, was that your putt was on fire. Now, obviously there's a whole bunch of other things I could say that set you above the field, but that was specifically what he nailed in on. Yeah.
My putt in round 3 probably felt the best all weekend. I was super confident kind of from anywhere. Yeah. Like I said, anywhere where I like stood up to a putt within 35, 40 feet, it felt like it was just going in. And it was nice because it was one of those days, right, where you just kind of step up to it and it's like, okay, well, I can make it. More than likely it's going to go in there. It felt like it was a 95% chance it was going in. So
yeah.
Awesome. That's nice for sure.
And we also reached out to Luke Levesque as well. He said you were a perfect mix of stoic and talkative, and he really enjoyed having you as a card mate. He thought you had some brutal bad luck during the first round. Maybe you just took over on the second and third round. Your putter was, in his words, so freaking hot. He mentioned that maybe you may have to convince him to take, or he mentioned that you may have tried to convince him to take some big lines, but they may just have been out of his reach.
I don't know if he knows how far he can throw. he can throw a freaking mile. So I think because that was his first time there too.
Right.
Okay. And he's obviously learning the course but if he comes back next year, I definitely think he can throw some bigger lines. Cause I'm pretty sure he was throwing a 9-speed on hole 1 and parking the basket. So.
Holy crow. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, you can throw a 9-speed and park the basket going over the trees. Yeah. That's one way to do it. Or you can, early release hyzer and put it in the shortcut like I did and then work your way up the path. So There's so many ways to get to the basket on that hole.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing too, Casey, right? Like watching guys like Luke come up, like he's quite high right now with his rookie points. And he kind of joked with me because I've reached out to him a few times now. I reached out to him for the larger than life because he was right up there in the mix in that one. Reached out to him for BC Open as well because he was in the mix at that tournament. And he's like, I'm getting a little tired of giving you all these comments. When's it going to be my turn to be on the show? I said, I'm telling him, man, your win is just around the corner. I'm sure with the way he's been playing, he's going to get there soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a quick question from the chat here because Casey just mentioned it. Any tips on creating that feeling of it's going in? Can you manufacture it, or do you have to wait for those feelings on any given day?
I think that comes from practice putting. Like I always get it. Always seems when I get that feeling, I was religious that like 2 weeks before the tournament, kind of going out 25 minutes a day and just putting, right? So that's pretty much what I did before Falcons flight was I was religious of just going out every day and just putting. Like I wasn't throwing that much because I didn't want to wear my body out, but I was putting a lot before the tournament.
Right. Well,
speaking of
with
putting and practicing,
yeah.
I have to ask you, because you put it out on your social media. There's a shot of you. I don't know how far it was, probably 40 feet. You threw it at the basket. You missed. It fell out. The camera pans back to you, and then you give it one of those.
Yeah.
Was that a nod to chain out?
It wasn't, but
we can say it was, though, right?
Yeah, I can say it was, exactly.
Yeah, I was like, hey, that's what Daryl and I do.
That's what we do at the end of every episode. So we were like, did Casey just shout us out?
No, I didn't know that you guys did that at the end of the episodes, but yeah, we can use that one for sure.
Yeah, there you go. Keep it in mind for the future.
Yep.
Good stuff. Well, the one other thing with the putting there, Casey, and we're going to get ready to wrap it up here with you, is I said to Daryl as we were playing the one round there, we were doing a little bit of practice, and I said, Daryl, that was a practice putt that was in every time, but then a tournament putt, it isn't in, because I feel that I get a little bit more hesitant. Now, with what you were saying before, is it just repetition? Do you think that's what gets that there, so that I can get my practice putt and my tournament putt to be equivalent?
So everybody like I'm obviously practice putting comes with it, but disc golf is probably 90% mental, right? It's like if you've been putting long enough, you know how to do it, right? It's like you got your stroke, your form, and everything that you need to do. But if you can't bring it to the course in a tournament, I think it's just experience at that point, right? It's like how many tournaments have you played in and you've been in that situation where it's like, well, I am nervous right now. And it's like, obviously I get that too. I think disc golf wouldn't be fun if you didn't get nerves, right?
Right.
So I think for me, it really is just experience, like coming down the stretch. And people ask me all the time, is like, well, do the cameras bother you? I was like, I don't even notice them. Like, now it's just, they're not really even there for me. And that's also a nod to Park Pro and like Matt and Andre. It's like, they're good at it, right? They're good at it now. You don't really even notice them that they're there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, again, I think it's experience and not thinking too much. So many people think so much when it comes to putting. You just really need to go and like work on what you're trying to do, repetition, like you said, every single time, and then just try to block everything else out and just do that. Because when I am putting in a tournament, the only thing I'm trying to think about is giving the disc height and looking at a chain link. Those are the two things I'm thinking about when I'm putting. Nothing else.
No, that's great advice. So it's pretty much trust your muscle memory at that point. Don't force anything. Yeah. No, that's awesome.
I do have a quick question. This is just aside from what we have in the script. Okay, so I'm going to put you in a situation and I want to know how you would deal with it. So the par 5 on East, let's say you threw something and you ended up on the left-hand side behind the group of trees, just slightly off from the path, the walking path that goes up to the next tee pad.
Okay.
Are you thinking, if you straddle out, you can see down that pathway to the basket? Now, your first shot, are you thinking, okay, I can throw it down that gap to the basket if you can make it? Or is your mindset to throw it back, which goes again, is kind of counterintuitive to throw back into the fairway to then have your approach shot? That would be my first question.
Okay. Yeah. So if I'm on the left side in those trees, I'd probably just throw a spike forehand out into the middle.
Okay.
Like I'd throw something kind of like this. I'd kind of just chuck something up into the air and just get it. I don't ever, because like for my set of tools and how tall I am, I usually can kind of try to get around certain things.
Right.
And obviously that's me, right? It's like I never want to go backwards. I definitely have. If you're pinched off that bad.
So a follow up to that question then. If you throw that shot, but you didn't make it and it went OB.
Okay.
What are you doing then? Are you trying the same shot again? Or at that point, do you think, okay, now I have to go back?
Yeah, that's tough. It's actually funny. I was like talking about that. So we're 12 on East right now, right?
Correct.
All right. So you're the par 5. So that'll be 13.
13.
Yeah,
Yeah.
13.
13
Sorry.
on East. Okay. Yeah, that's funny. We were actually talking about that, playing down that path actually, because somebody on one of their other cards somebody was over there and they tried to play down that, but they didn't make it. So
Did they happen to take a 17? Because that was me.
Okay.
I was over there and I threw down the path and didn't make it.
Yeah.
And then went back and tried to throw again and didn't make it. And then threw it down again and didn't make it.
Okay. So you're tin cupping it pretty much.
Once you're at that point,
Yes.
it became
Yes,
stubbornness to make it down that gap.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I spoke to Ben after the round and he's like, you know what the play was? And I said, well, yeah, to play backwards along back on the fairway. And he said, nope, thumber over the top. Even if you go long, now you're in OB on the other side. You're near the green. You have a putt, which just goes to show the difference between the am and the pro mindset. Because I was stubbornness to try and get it down there. No, at one point did I think about going backwards in the fairway. Never did I think about going over the top.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, if you're in that position, just throw it right over because it's pretty much a tap in from that point if you just throw it over the basket.
Yeah. There you go. That's the pro mindset, Jeremy.
There you go. We always love talking to Casey. You always help educate us for sure. Well, hey, you've got next weekend or this weekend coming up. You're going to head down to Fairmont and you're going to play the Rumble at Raven's Nest so people can follow along on PDGA Live with you there. Mm-hmm. And then after that, you're heading up to Nationals in Clearwater. And we have our Nationals fantasy picks coming up where we pick our winners. And we know that you're already going to be right up there because you're competing in there. Do you got any tips for us on who you think might be sharing the podium with you at the end of the weekend?
Obviously, Max and Thomas, right? Yeah. We're all tied up right now. I think we're all rated 10-13. So it's going to be a fun weekend playing up there with those boys. I know there's a couple Americans coming up. I've never played with them before, but they're obviously high rated as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing with the courses up there. The little course on the ski hill is similar to Falcons Flight in that it's hard to get strokes there. There's enough OB and there's really tight lines. So there can be big swings at that course. I don't know what we're actually playing. I don't know if we're playing 2 at there and then 2 at the golf course, but
you have, I know the pros have Wells Gray and the ski hill. That's where you guys are, but you're right. I don't know if it's Wells Gray, ski hill back to Wells Gray, which it is, but
last year for the Harvest Hawk, we played 2 at the ski hill and then 1 at Wells Gray. So who knows?
Well, it's too bad we couldn't have convinced Marty to come out west as well. I think he's at the RIP, but then we could have really had the showdown with you, Thomas, Max, and Marty for the top 4 rated MPOs. So
that would have been awesome. Yeah.
Maybe next year we'll get that one.
Yeah.
So Casey, best of luck over the next couple of weeks. I'll watch for you at Nationals. I didn't get a chance to really catch up with you at Falcons. I'll watch for you at Nationals. And we just want to let our listeners know if they want to see more of you, they can go back and watch episode 24 where we did a full interview. We did the origin story with you. We got to do Desert Island Discs, all of those things. So, hopefully take down Nationals and we'll be talking to you right again.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. And sorry, Casey, before we let you go, what we always like to do, you got to shout out your sponsors. And if there's anything else that you'd like to shout out, this is your time for that.
Prodigy Disc, Limber Disc Golf, Cold Garden Brewing, and Flex Zone.
Nice.
Those are my 4 sponsors this year.
Good stuff.
Perfect.
And then Daryl was talking too.
Yeah.
We know sometimes when you win events, and I don't know that the Canadian events are getting that big or that, but do you think Prodigy will be talking about possibly any discs for you or any other discs this year, or would that have to be Nationals to kind of make that happen?
Starting a collection of discs from Canadian pros. I've got Kristen, I've got Thomas, I've got Rebecca Dawn.
Yeah.
We got Gabby, we've got Joe Henderson. I didn't have a chance. I still haven't found your putter that had the bear stamp on it. So I'm looking if there's another disc that's coming out.
Supposedly they sold all of those.
Yeah.
They sold all the commemorative ones last year for national win. So hopefully I can win another Nationals this year and then I get another disc out. So
awesome.
Awesome.
Look forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Casey. We appreciate it, and we look forward to talking to you again.
Hey, thanks, guys. Have
Thanks
a
for
good
your
one.
time, Casey. You too.
Well, Daryl, another amazing recap show. I love these shows. I
It
think
was an
this
awesome
is
episode,
one of
yeah.
my favorites. So it looks like Sam put in the comments there that he saw some Rocket Bear stamps at Limber recently. So that would have
Yeah.
probably been when he was down for the Limber Open.
Yeah.
So you know what? We got an in with Taylor. You got a Limber pine cone right here. Maybe I can reach out and see what I can find out.
Get on it, Jeremy.
I'm on it. You can do the rest of the episode, and I will just take care of that.
There you go. I'll get back to you. Okay. So, awesome guests, awesome episode.
Yeah. If you like what you hear, do us a favor. Subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram. Like our stuff. Comment. Drop pros' names in the comments. Do all of that stuff. Anything you can do to help us allows us to bring more awesome content like this to you.
Yeah. Don't forget, Fantasy Disc Golf episode coming out sometime soon. Hopefully before the weekend. Probably Friday.
Yeah. So watch that and make sure to pick your own team if you can. And definitely vote for us because we really like that. It helps make it even more fun for our picks and that type of thing. And
we are going to be getting a picture of the giveaway.
Oh, this giveaway. Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to have a picture of everything that's available in it right now.
Mm-hmm.
But Jeremy, you teased last episode that there was going to be a new addition to the giveaway.
Yeah. Like, okay, guys,
another disc.
We're at 225 subscribers right now. We're trying to get to 250, and we're trying to reward somebody for helping us get there. Practice bag, the KC Rock that we've got, the stickers, the hats, the cozy, you name it, we put it in there. But apparently that's not enough to get us to our subscriber goal. So, you know,
Jeremy's
when we were at Falcons,
sweeten the pot.
I'm going to just crank it up just a little bit. And I'm going to crank that up because I spoke to Gabby Lee, and Gabby Lee had a wonderful detour. And what's luckier than one rabbit's foot, Daryl?
2 rabbit's feet?
How about 9 rabbit's feet? We have a detour here signed by Gabby Lee that I'm adding to the pot.
That's awesome. A signed Gabby Lee bunny detour.
Yeah.
Add it to the pot. 250 subscribers, and it could be yours. We're giving it away. Do we have a secret word in the chat? Secret word going once.
I think, you know what? I'm going to say
secret word going twice.
I think what we're going to do, Daryl, I don't have one yet. I think we should do something about buzz, because I really like that Bailey was talking about just buzzing there.
Buzz. Yeah.
I want something with putting from Casey. Do you got anything from that?
I can't think of anything. He just mentioned that when it's on. The practice, repetition.
All right, repetition,
buzz.
And then we should work Rudy in there too, maybe.
Let's just go with Rudy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you think that works? Just Rudy, or what do you want to do?
I'm fine with just Rudy. If you can think of something else you want to put in there, but I think Rudy's a nice shout out.
All right, let's go for it. So we're going to use Rudy Faulkner. So Rudy as the secret word, because that's the best way to honor this episode.
Yeah.
So find a way to drop a comment in there, even if it's just a memory or something like that you remember of meeting Rudy or playing Falcons Flight and what that means to you. Let's just change the script a bit. That's how we're going to do the secret word, and throw it in the comments.
Rudy, buzz, repetition.
Yeah. There you go.
All right, Jeremy. Do you know what would happen, though?
What would happen?
Whoever gets that detour.
Slightly understable.
Understable. So I'm thinking, I think it's hole 7. I think Bailey liked it. Up the hill.
Yes.
I think it was hole 7.
Yes.
Up the hill. Turn over to the right.
That's right.
Basket framed by the trees in the sunshine.
Sun shining down.
You're down low. You're going to throw it. It's going to go up high. It's going to have a nice little turnover. Understable. Through the 2 guardian trees. It's going to go, if you give it enough height, it's going to come right into the basket.
Yes.
And because it's a Gabby Lee signed detour.
With 9 lucky bunnies on it.
It would never.
It could never.
It wouldn't.
Possibly.
In honor of Casey.
Chain out!
Thanks, everybody.
We'll see you next time. Check out the fantasy episode.
Coming soon.